All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Three Amigos podcast. 2 out of 3 falls podcast here today. Chris and Anthony here to discuss WWE Crown Jewel, but more importantly, here because we want to talk about Logan Paul and why everyone needs to acknowledge Logan Paul as a ridiculously talented, almost seems like he was born to do this wrestler in the WWE. Anthony watched the whole Crown Jewel show, but especially we all tuned in for the main event. What did you think of Roman versus Logan?
As you know, I really don't like Logan Paul, like most people don't, but you're right. It is the athleticism and the I don't know what you would call it. Like he held his own basically against Roman Reigns. And me personally, I don't really think I never thought of Roman Reigns as like this top tier of a guy, but still to face off against someone like Roman Reigns and do the things that he did with the shorter amount of time training that I'm assuming he had compared to other wrestlers in the business. He
Yeah,
got some
yeah. I
he got
mean,
some skill set.
he has a lot more going on than most of the people who are with WWE only do. Not only, but like their main thing is wrestling, and Logan is off doing like 25 other projects at the same time. Yeah.
And then like also, so they said he trained with Shawn Michaels, right? Was that
Yes.
just for this match or in general?
I think in general,
Okay.
most likely. But I mean, he's
So,
only had 3 matches, so I would assume the training was mostly for this match.
because in that case, like even by training with Shawn Michaels, you would think there'd be a need for a much longer training period to be as good as he was. Um, you know, in my opinion, that's what I think. Like he's done some cool shit. Honestly, his super kick is kind of lame and weird, but other than that,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I mean, it's not going to be good at literally everything after
yeah.
3 I feel like we need to really like hammer home the fact that he has had 3 total matches in the WWE, and not just in the WWE, but like professional wrestling or like entertainment wrestling, but
Right.
um that version of it, he's had 3 total matches. Like, obviously we were not watching like back in the 80s and 90s when Triple H and HBK and all those guys were like, Ric Flair were like rookies, but it's hard to imagine or think of somebody who had a better first 3 matches ever than Logan Paul has now had. Um, we
Especially,
should note that like he's been in the ring with some pretty talented people to help. This isn't like they threw him in the ring with I don't know, Omos,
or
and
our
like
truth or
those matches would
something.
have been, yeah, like those matches would have been kind of brutal, but he wrestled Rey Mysterio and Dominic, and then he wrestled The Miz, and now Roman Reigns, and the matches have only gotten better and better. Uh Yeah, man, it's it pains me to admit because he's comes off as such a douchebag all the time.
And the fact that his third match ever was a fucking undisputed championship match. Like,
Yeah, yeah. But he's good, dude. He's not even just like that almost feels like it's not giving him enough credit. He's really good for somebody who this is not his job.
right.
Like he does other shit, and this is one of the things that he is doing.
Was it
I
him that fought Mayweather, or was it his brother who fought Mayweather?
No, that was him. That was
Okay.
him.
And that was the
Yeah.
second boxing match, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
because KSI, and then yeah. It
I Let me ask you
yeah.
this: were you worried, or I don't know if it's worried or like did you think he was going to win the belts?
No, I mean, so like I talked about this a little bit in my predictions, and like this was a really hard match to make it believable at all that or that Roman Reigns wasn't going to win.
Right.
Um, I did think they would do some like near falls, and they definitely did some near falls that I like for a second was like, wait a minute, are they actually? They're not gonna really put the title on him. Like that's kind of
Right.
crazy. And I feel like for me that was enough. Like, because I didn't even know if they were gonna be able to convince me during the match. Like, well, maybe. But yeah, it for a brief millisecond, there were definitely a couple moments where I was like, oh shit, like maybe they're gonna get kind of wild here and like throw their plans out the window. Um, yeah, I mean, I think the feeling I'm sort of getting about Logan Paul is like kind of a few years ago, Ronda Rousey had like her first big match at WrestleMania. She teamed with Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie, which is it's kind of a weird sentence to say now. But I remember after the match, a lot of our reactions was like, "Oh shit, she's like pretty good." For someone who's not a wrestler.
Right.
Or again, like not a WWE wrestler. Difference between like Olympic style wrestling and the entertainment stuff.
Right.
Um, but with Logan Paul, I feel that it's kind of like after this match, to me, they're almost now at the point of like, is there any way we could convince this guy to just be part of WWE? Because like the feeling that I got from this match was like, man, if you give him more opportunities and like he keeps training, he could be like really, really good, like great, like like an actual phenomenal wrestler, which
Right.
is crazy to say about Logan Paul, like the Suicide Forest guy,
Yeah.
like the guy who spends all his money on Pokemon cards. Logan Paul, like if you like to me, I guess I know this is gonna sound kind of crazy, but like the feelings I was getting watching him in terms of potential was like Shawn Michaels.
Mm,
Was like, dude, this guy he could be something. Like they might have stumbled into finding like the next great because there's something about Logan too that like he does have this like this X factor. It's like if his name is attached to the pay-per-view or the match or whatever it is, there's a little more intrigue because he does have that face of like, I want to see this guy get beat up. But I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a point in this match where I was rooting for him. And
mm.
I just
So
don't know how to
my
feel. I'm like, I'm very like, man, this guy's really fucking good.
Because my question about the whole thing is, I'll give you a different example. I don't know how true this is, but it's like maybe about a year ago or so. Supposedly, Twitch was trying to pay Logic money to just do games on Switch and quit music, right?
Yes.
Um, which to me seems kind of dumb in the sense of like, yeah, you're offering me money, but who are you to tell me I can't do something that I want to do? As like, I'm a rapper and I make music. You're going to tell me to stop making music to do only video games type of thing. I don't know the contract process of that, but if they said to Logan Paul, "We want you to wrestle for us, but all you can do is wrestling," well, is he going to make the same amount of money doing that as what he makes now doing everything else he does?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not. Definitely not. Like
Yeah.
even the highest paid wrestlers are making a fraction of what Logan Paul makes in a year. And
Uh,
yeah, I guess we should also note like they are putting their bodies on the line because this is real. Like all the stuff that happens in the ring is
Right.
actually happening. And Logan Paul, apparently picked up some pretty bad injuries.
Yeah.
Um, one of which was a torn ACL, which like if that's true, like assuming it's not WWE doing like an injury thing where he comes back at the Royal Rumble or whatever,
Oh, I hope
um,
not.
you're like not going to be doing anything for like a year. Like maybe you come back a little sooner, but especially for the sort of style that Logan Paul has,
Yeah.
not gonna if that injury is accurate, you're not gonna see him in WWE for a while.
Because
Um,
he's kind of high flyer, right? I guess in a way, kind of high flyer.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of the other things I kind of wanted to touch on was like, I don't know if you know who the baseball player Bryce Harper is, or like I've heard of his name,
I've
but
heard of the name, yeah.
yeah, so basically when he came up as a rookie, he was 19 and he was like balls to the wall, like running after everything, diving catches, sprinting around the bases all the time. And he was getting hurt a lot. And basically they had to sit him down and say like, "Hey man, we know that you can do all this stuff, but if you want to like stay healthy, you got to slow down
Yeah.
because it's not going to work out in the long run." Like you can play this way for a few years, but by the time you're 30, you'll feel like you're 60. And
Right.
as cool as a lot of the stuff that Logan did in this match and the other two matches as well, like some of it does feel like someone's got to sit him down and be like, "Hey, like we know that you want to prove." Like clearly he feels like he has to prove himself, which I think he should because I'm sure there's people in the back who aren't happy about him basically skipping the line.
Right.
There are hundreds of people in WWE who would love to have a universal title match just to be in that position, even if they had to, lay down for the pin. But it did sort of feel like there's so much potential here, but at the same time, he almost has to like refine his style a little bit
Right.
because he's so balls to the wall, like breaking announce tables and doing all these crazy frog splashes and jumping over the ropes and all this shit. And it's like that looks really cool, and you're definitely putting on a great show. But like, if you're injured, you're useless.
Right. Kind of like you're showboating when you don't need to showboat every time. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
you
like
know.
the Miz and Daniel Bryan got into like an actual argument about this of like Daniel Bryan wrestling a very reckless style that led him to get
Hmm.
injured a lot, and the Miz wrestling a very like plain style, but he was never hurt.
Right.
Uh, and it's a justified debate, and like I really enjoyed the Logan Paul match, but you could say because of the way he wrestled, because of his current style, we're not going to see him wrestle again for a while now.
Right.
And if you took away a couple of broken announce tables, maybe his next match is at the Royal Rumble instead of a year from now potentially.
Especially
Uh,
because you have like there is a situations where you have okay, I'll give you the example. I saw this video about Undertaker versus Batista. One of the WrestleManias was that WrestleMania 22 or something like that.
23. Yeah.
23. And I think Batista accidentally hit Undertaker really hard for real. And Undertaker started to hit him back really hard and was kind of like an accidental, potential injury causing thing. Whereas
Yeah.
this guy's kind of like, hey, because wrestlers are always getting thrown through tables and this and that, I'm gonna do it. But it's like, dude, you're not, you put on a show, but you're also putting not just yourself at risk, but your opponent at risk. And that you gotta be careful with the shit you're doing. Are they saying to him, like you mentioned with Bryce Harper, hey, you need to chill, or are they like, who cares? It's Logan Paul. Let him do what he wants. Like,
Yeah. I think like it's unfortunate that this all happened after this match specifically because I think if he had done 90% of this stuff and come out of this match healthy, someone would sit him down and be like, "Hey man, you got to slow down.
yeah,
Like these matches are fun and I'm sure you watched this on TV when you were younger like all of us, but like there's a reason we say don't try this shit at home. Like
right.
you've only wrestled a few matches, you're still training, you're
You're not
going to injure yourself for real if you keep wrestling this
like
way."
you're not Jeff Hardy. You're not Mankind.
Right, like there's a finite amount of people who could just ragdoll their body and somehow be, not totally fine because like those guys do have long-term health impacts, but
Right,
like essentially like get up after fucking a swanton bomb off a 20-foot ladder through a table. Like though, get thrown off a cell and continue the match. Like there's
right,
a very small amount of people who can wrestle that way. And I think it's good to point out that all the people in the matches with Logan Paul, aside from the Miz who got injured recently, and that's why he's been off TV. But for the most part, the Miz is like literally never been injured. Um, they don't get hurt. Like
Right.
Rey Mysterio doesn't get hurt that often. Dominic hasn't really, been injured. He's done a few matches. Roman really doesn't get hurt that often because they wrestle a style that allows them to stay healthy. They know what their limits are. And Rey Mysterio's a high flyer too, but like you don't see him fucking jumping around like breaking people through announce tables in every match.
Right. Plus,
Um,
Ray also has however many years of experience. We're talking about maybe
yeah.
20 years experience or so.
Yeah, so I think like part of what I was taking away from this was like, man, Logan, there's I think it's really hard. Like if you showed that match to somebody who isn't into wrestling or like doesn't really know who either of those guys are, you would think that they're both at the same level. Like you would see that one of them won the match. Obviously, somebody has to
Right.
win, but like you would look at them and be like, "Oh wow, that other guy's pretty good too." And then you find out that that was that other guy's third ever professional wrestling match, and he's only been training for a couple of years. And you'd be like, "Oh shit!" Like they really got something with whoever this person is.
Right.
And I think that's just how I feel, which is weird because we did an episode when Logan first signed with WWE, and we basically all said like he's not going to stick with it, and he's not really probably like not going to go anywhere. Like this is a SummerSlam, WrestleMania, and then they'll put him in some random match, and then he'll lose. But
Right.
after this match, I I kind of have to change my opinion because I actually could see a scenario where he wins the WWE championship and it makes total sense. Like it depends how far they want to go with it,
Right.
but Ronda Rousey won the women's championship. I mean, obviously, unfortunately that's not held to the same like level of prestige just in the general audience as the men's titles for, different reasons, but I I could honestly see a point where Logan wins the biggest championship. I could
So
definitely now
did
see a point where he wins the tag titles or mid-card belt or something. But yeah, it doesn't seem as crazy anymore after watching his matches.
when Ronda first won that belt, was that what made her become a full-time wrestler, or was she full-time at that point before she
Yeah,
won?
not I like her first contract with WWE was kind of weird because it was a 3-year deal, but then she only wrestled sort of part-time-ish for 1 year. And then she had a kid, so she was gone basically like the last 2 years of the deal. And then I guess re-signed sometime
Right.
recently, and now she's full time.
Because
Uh,
if Logan goes full-time, there's going to be a very weird moment. But I think that could be the difference here, in my opinion, of like if he wins a belt, then he'll probably be there for a little while till he loses it in the next pay-per-view after, whatever. Like I say, he wins a belt at some random pay-per-view. The following one, he would lose it, and then he'll be exiting. I don't see him as a staying there full-time wrestler. And I think, after this match, maybe he's either gonna, as you said, he'll be done for a while. Maybe he'll do a Royal Rumble appearance, but I think that might be the end of it. Just appear at the Royal Rumble as a random number. You get eliminated after a couple of numbers pass by, and then that'll be it. Um, that's kind of what I think about that.
See, I think I came out of this feeling the opposite. Like originally, I did kind of side with you, where I was like, yeah, he's probably gonna do whatever this, however many
Right.
years is on this deal, and then that'll be it. Like it'll kind of be a publicity stunt. Like that's how it felt when they
Mm-hmm.
first did it. It was like, oh, this is a publicity thing. Like if they could have signed Conor McGregor, they would have done that instead. Like they just
Right.
wanted, because that's when Vince was running it. It's like they just want some celebrity who's gonna like get a bunch of like Twitter interactions and whatever, and he's not really gonna be like legit. But after seeing him wrestle, it does feel like there's a reason that you should try to explore a longer term future with WWE, not only for them but for him, because I mean, he's good at a lot of stuff. We all just kind of have to admit that at this point. Guy's successful in pretty much everything he does. There were instances where, The Rock came back to go on a run for like a year or whatever with WWE, like took a break from his movies and whatnot. It's not crazy to think like even Brock Lesnar was full time for at least half the year last year, like going into Mania, when he came back as a face. Like there's a potential that at some point Logan, if his schedule slows down just enough and the desire on his end is there, because I feel like WWE is going to be asking him, like, how can we get you more involved?
Right.
And I feel like it's gonna kind of have to come from him in terms of how much he wants to be involved, because I don't see how you could watch that match with Roman and not think there are years of potential here with this guy if he ever wants to like take this even more seriously than he's already taking it.
And as long as he
Uh,
keeps his ass safe from doing other stupid, crazy shit.
yeah, it's like I think like you can do that stuff once in a while, um, but at the same time, like I don't even like. I feel like Logan can be more three-dimensional than like the guy who jumps off, like breaks you through an announce table every match. Because like at a certain point, if you start doing that stuff every single time, then it's less special. Like it was
Right.
still cool to see Jeff Hardy like throw his body around, but once you do a swanton bomb off a ladder through a table like 10 different times, kind of like, yeah, it's cool, but like,
Yeah,
we don't have
you've
to
done
keep
it.
doing it. We've already seen
Right.
him do it a bunch.
It's like,
Um,
oh, but this time is on fire. This time there's an
yeah.
open chair on it, and I'm gonna land on my spine and paralyze myself. Is the fucking
Yeah, I think the other thing too is like Logan's been in the ring with people who would be totally okay not doing crazy shit.
Yeah,
Like Rey Mysterio doesn't do crazy shit. The Miz doesn't do crazy shit. Roman Reigns doesn't do crazy shit. These are Logan's ideas, I would assume, of like, oh yeah, no, I'll do a jump off the turnbuckle through the announce table in back-to-back matches.
that's
Uh,
right. Because he did it to the Miz, and then he did it to Roman.
yeah,
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
you could just not do that, even though like that spot, obviously, when he was setting up for you, like, oh, this is gonna go super viral. He's got the cell phone out, like he knows what he's doing. Like
right.
he's bringing that social interaction to WWE from a younger crowd. I don't know about you. I had no idea he was this popular in Saudi Arabia.
I didn't know.
They must have looked at his fucking YouTube metrics or something and like gone into his analytic creator studio and been like, oh wow, this guy's crazy over, because anything he's done in America, they have booed the shit out of him. Like he goes to Saudi Arabia and it's like the fucking Undertaker showed up. Like so many people are cheering. It is bizarre, but like I think that was kind of the last thing that came out of this match for me was when they first signed him and they were pushing him as a baby face. And I think pretty much everybody was like, this is a terrible idea. Like, have you not seen Logan Paul? He
Right.
looks like if you looked up douchebag in the dictionary, it would just be his face.
Yeah.
Like the punchable face, like all the jokes. They like he is all of them. He looks like a douchebag. He has a very punchable face. Everything he does, you're like, how could you ever cheer for this guy? He just feels like a bad guy. And
Like
even his
he's
YouTube career, like, he did a bunch of bad, dumb stuff.
he's Eddie Brock without the venom. That's what he is.
Yeah, exactly. Like he just looks like high school bully number one, like in
Yeah.
some early 2000s movie. And after this match, I kind of started to see a timeline where he could be a babyface. The only way he can't is if Jake Paul is anywhere near him, because Jake Paul is all the douchebag stuff cranked up to like 1,000. And they even called him the problem child when he came to the ring. Like, there's just Logan
Right.
would have to get so far away from Jake Paul being involved in anything he does in WWE. But I do think there's more potential that he could be a babyface only because he's so good. Like there was this guy in NXT named Adam Cole, who
Mm-hmm.
went to AEW a couple years ago, and he was a heel in NXT. He was a heel, but he was so good that he just got cheered regardless because everybody's loved him. And it was like at a certain point, if somebody's really good, kind of like Roman Reigns, like he perfected this bloodline character that now he just gets cheered unless he goes to
Right.
Saudi Arabia. But
Because they're not very oozy over there.
it's not a very Usi nation, man. I don't know if you know that. They don't keep it very Usi in
They
Saudi
don't.
Arabia.
Speaking of Roman, because I have a less serious question about the whole thing, and a more serious question. So the less serious question is when Logan Paul had the cell phone and did the turnbuckle jump to the table. Which would you say would got have gotten more viral? That video or when that fan threw a phone at the stage for Megan Thee Stallion and she was twerking above the phone?
Man, that's tough. I think I would hope that Logan's went more viral because it's way more impressive.
Yeah.
But I feel like just the perverted
I,
nature of society, Megan the Stallion's
I don't think that jump is way more impressive than that booty that she got.
it is pretty impressive. It is
So
pretty impressive.
my more serious question is kind of like a transition to like I never understood the what Roman Reigns brings to the business in terms of like here's my mindset, right? If you were to put Logan Paul against Brock Lesnar, just the type of physique and anger that Brock Lesnar can bring, I would say he would utterly destroy Logan Paul, no problem. And that Logan Paul may not be able to hold his own against Brock Lesnar. Maybe I'm wrong because I want to see them, at this point, as much as I hate Logan Paul, maybe I want to see that match, Logan
Damn, I'd
versus
love to see
Brock.
that match.
But I when Roman Reigns defeated Brock Lesnar how many times already, and it was like
Yeah, too many.
really? Against Brock Lesnar? I would think Brock Lesnar would destroy Roman Reigns. So I don't know what it is about Roman Reigns that is, he's been champion for what? This over 700 days.
Yeah, over 2 years.
So like I don't know what is the hype with Roman or what does he bring to where Logan can hold his own against Roman, but I would think would get destroyed by Brock Lesnar, maybe destroyed by Bobby Lashley, because Lashley, in my opinion, kind of dropped the ball a couple times here and there, but Lashley is still a very powerful being.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that is just in how those characters are presented. Like Roman as a character is, at least in the Bloodline storyline, is being presented as a very arrogant but beatable villain. He just always has backup, so it's kind of like Edge with the Edgeheads. It's like there's so many matches Edge could have lost the title, but he had
Right,
Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder backing him up, so he just didn't. And
right.
that's kind of where Roman is right now. Like as a character, he's just a a fucking supervillain who always has a way to win. And he's really good, but he is beatable. Like there a lot of the matches he's had, there have been instances where he could have been beaten, where he was close to being beaten. Um, Brock Lesnar has been built up as like the one in 21-1, like when he beat the Undertaker, like the beast
Mm-hmm.
Brock Lesnar.
Right. And the
Um,
streak, yeah.
yeah, like he has a different presentation. I think you can't in wrestling, like you can't have people who are just unbeatable. So you have to pin Brock Lesnar. You just can't do it that often because
Right.
you also have to make it like when he gets pinned, it's like, holy shit, whoever this is just pinned Brock Lesnar.
Because what was the last match Brock had against Roman? Was that SummerSlam or was that different
I
pay-per-view?
think it was Mania. I think it was Mania.
Was that the one with the truck? The
Oh no, yeah, no, you're right. It was SummerSlam. God, I already
right. And
I
so
started
didn't
deleting these from my brain.
because I thought didn't Brock almost win that and then the fucking Usos came out and
Yeah,
we had a
yeah,
conversation where I was like, can this guy win without the Usos, without the bloodline?
yeah,
And you guys were saying like, well, that's kind of like the story they're telling. It's like, no, fuck that. Because I know like Frankie and I think maybe you as well, you guys enjoy the high flying stuff,
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot. I enjoy Godzilla versus Kong. Give me this one guy against this other guy. Like John
yeah.
Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania was awesome. Brock
Right,
Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, I would like to see with no Usos, no what's his name? Paul Heyman, nobody, just one v
right.
one. Whether you do a normal match or you do a weapons and Still KHL. It doesn't matter. Just 1v1, no help. Can't. I want to see that because I would think Roman may not win that match if there's no extra help. Honestly,
Yeah. But I mean, again,
uh,
like that's
but
part of
that's
the
the whole thing.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
like
that's what I kind of don't like. I'm just like, how long has this bloodline thing been running though? Like,
well, it's tough because like we talked about this before, but like it's two different people's interpretations of the storyline now. Like
mm-hmm,
the Triple H version has only been going for like 3 or 4 months, and the Vince McMahon version went on for like 2 years with no real plan about where it was headed because that was most stories with Vince McMahon. He just
right,
didn't know where they were gonna go. So I think like it's unfortunate because it's different management. Like it's a different person's idea of where this story would go. But I think like the point of being annoyed at the Roman Reigns matches is like that's whether you like it or not, that is just the character. That is the story they're telling of this guy who, whether he wants to admit it or not, is only winning because he's getting all this help from his friends, from his family, and then his friend Sami Zayn.
yeah.
That's just the story. Uh, and Logan got some help in this match as well. It was fun to see his friends get beat up. It's just something inherently fun about watching Logan Paul or anyone that he's friends with get beat up in a wrestling ring. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to get that part out of my mind, but he is really good at wrestling. He is really, really good. And this was a way better match than I was expecting. I guess I thought it would be good because Roman Reigns is a good worker. Like he's not gonna do any fucking crazy shit, but like he's good at his acting and his in ring. He was like yelling at other YouTubers like Mr. Beast, come get some
Oh
KSI.
yeah, he.
He's good at all the like ad libbing stuff. Um, but this was a way better match than I was expecting. And Logan Paul has a it sucks that he's hurt, but he has a real future with however far he wants to take this WWE run.
I will say as a final statement about the whole Roman Reigns thing is like, who was that guy you mentioned, Osmos, whatever his name was?
Oh, Omos.
Omos, where I think they're doing to him what they did back when the Great Khali started wrestling in WWE, where they have this whole thing they're running with of this guy is unbeatable and he's a monster, but he's wrestling a bunch of shitty nobodies. And then like, because when the Great Khali was out, from my memory, remember I used to watch it all the time back then. He was beating all these whack ass guys left and right, and then he lost to Batista. And after
Yeah.
that, his career was kind of like he's the Pajami Playboy, and he's not really
Oh,
as great and powerful as he used to be. Sheamus,
God, I
same
forgot
way.
about that.
when
Punjabi
when
Playboy.
Sheamus came out, it was a very similar thing, except Sheamus was actually champion at some point. He was
Yeah.
actually the WWE champion. I actually enjoyed Sheamus as champion. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that
Um,
was yeah. I remember when he
so
when he he pushed John Cena through the table and he won the title. And
yeah.
everybody was like, "Was that a mistake? Like, who the fuck is this guy? Who's this pasty white dude who just won the title?" But no,
Dang.
Sheamus was and is awesome.
Is
Yeah.
he still as pasty as he was back then?
He is
Like,
very, very pasty, man. He's super jacked though, so it evens
yeah.
out.
And so with Roman, it's like, because I remember he had that thing with John Cena where Cena was like, I do this job better part time than you do it full time. And he was
Yeah.
even saying, like, if you want to be the one to take over for me, you gotta learn how to do a promo, learn how to do this. So at least he picked it up and he's running with it, but he's not one of those whack beast of a character who's beating all these whack nobodies. He's beating Brock Lesnar. He's beating Logan Paul, I guess now's in that rank. I don't know what did he beat last year as well, right?
Yeah, I
I
think
think he
so.
got the belt from last year, something like that, or he got one of them.
Champion for so long.
Yeah.
Honestly can't even remember some of the matches he won. He beat Seth Rollins a few times. Those were great matches. Uh, yeah,
So
no,
yeah.
he's had a really good run. It sucks that it's like been fucked up by Vince McMahon having no idea what to do with him. But on that note, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you. We love you. YouTube, Spotify, Anchor. Thank you so much. Let us know what you thought about Logan Paul and the whole show in general if you got a chance to check it out. And if you think that it is also time to acknowledge Logan Paul as a very, very talented wrestler with a limitless future in the WWE. It's going to be all for the Three Amigos, Chris and Anthony. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.